Welcome to our new segment called Patch Pro Chat, where we introduce you to expert wellness professionals who have incorporated the Lifewave patches into their practice.
Learn not only how they use the patches in their practice, but also the innovative and customized modalities they use to ensure their clients get a completely holistic solution to their problems.
The patches are just one tool in their toolbox to help their clients live their best life.
We will have experts in brain health, homeopathy, skincare, chiropractic care, naturopathy, massage therapy, energy work, quantum medicine, and much more. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first segment of Health Chat, where we have a quick chat with a wellness expert. This to the stage. So today our focus is children and brain health with Noeline Levinson. But before we get started, I want to read the disclaimer. So just want to let everybody know that we are not doctors, and so all products discussed in this segment are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. If you are pregnant or nursing or on any medications or have any conditions or disease, always first consult with a physician or other qualified healthcare provider before embarking on a new treatment, product use, diet, or fitness program. This presentation is for educational purposes only. So, welcome to Health Chat, Noeline.
Hi.
So, Noeline, tell us all about yourself. Tell us what you do.
I am a genetic brain dominance profiler, which means I do brain profiles which tell us what happens to you personally when you're stressed. There are thousands of profiles out there in the world. They don't tell us what happens to you when you're stressed. And that really is the pinnacle of what makes this different to other kinds of profiling.
Right.
And that's really what's so important to know, because we want to know why you don't behave the same when you're relaxed to when you're stressed. So that's really the brain profiling aspect. And I do focus on children with learning challenges, because I really want children to thrive and for us to understand how to communicate with them, how to educate them, how to teach them, how to hear them. It's essential. And then I am also an acute prescribing homeopath, which means that I treat people with acute conditions. So,
like what? Like, for example, like?
So for colds and flus and rashes and aches and pains and things that have happened just in the last little while.
Okay.
So if you're coming to me and you've had eczema for the last 20 years, I'm not your gal.
Right.
Okay. So that's for a chronic homeopath.
Right.
And I'm an acute homeopath. I'm not just cute, but acute. And
you are very cute.
Just had to always throw that in. But it is looking at conditions that have happened recently. And mostly my passion has been to educate people on how to use homeopathy at home with their families as first aid. So often I have mums who are having babies, and I'm teaching them how to use homeopathy for teething and colic and tummy upsets and things that babies go through. They're not really ill, but they are going to go through these things anyway. And the homeopathy is just beautiful to support that child and help them grow. So, but having said that, I am also using a homeopathic kit from a company called Sanam, and they are looking at helping the detox process. And that fits so beautifully into the work that I do with brain profiling and children and all the things that I do.
Well, so tell me, like, it sounds like a lot what you do is focusing on detox, because that's what's causing a lot of these learning challenges. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I have been in this business for over 30 years, and it didn't take me long to kind of figure out that what I was looking at was actually toxicity. And I'll give you an example about this. I was called into a school, at a private school, and in this class were 22 boys, and 18 of the 22 were on Ritalin.
Wow. So
I had to say to myself, how can it be possible that 18 out of 22 children have learning challenges? That statistic is I mean, that's incredibly high.
Right.
Okay, so I thought to myself, what could be the common denominator that affects all these children? And so I began to understand that toxicity was actually contributing to a lot of the learning challenges that we saw, ranging from ADD, ADHD, all the way through APD to autism and Asperger's, obviously. So once I began to understand that, I really did a lot of research, and I did training, and I really worked hard to understand my clients. And I understood that toxicity was really number one. One of the things that we can see is that if you go and look at what mercury poisoning looks like, and then you look at what autism looks like, they look very, very similar.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I want to educate people about is toxicity and how easy it is to actually get it. People kind of go, oh, where would I find mercury? Oh, no, you don't have to look far.
Right.
I mean, first of all, look in your teeth, number one.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, right. And how many people have had a root canal treatment? Number two, tick. And then we've also got mercury was put into and still is into vaccinations.
Yes.
Tick. It's called thimerosal. It's not called mercury. Remember, people don't write what's really in things.
Right.
They rename things so that you don't feel frightened.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I was growing up, they used to put on open cuts a red liquid called mercurochrome. Hello,
Oh,
mercury
wow. Oh,
on an open cut.
Ah.
So I mean, really. So actually things are really easy to come by. And the thing about what the heavy metals do, particularly the aluminium and mercury, is they demyelinate the neural pathways. And your brain is trying to myelinate the pathways. And the myelination process is what actually helps us move information into short-term memory and then into long-term memory. And the point is that if we're not myelinating or we're demyelinating, then actually we're losing those pathways. So through learning and through repetition, the brain goes, oh, we're going to need that pathway. We need to myelinate it in order to keep it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what happens with demyelination is the opposite. The metals actually demyelinate that pathway, and so we lose that connection. That piece of information is lost. And so we look at MS is a very typical example of this, but Alzheimer's, Parkinson's is yet another example of this. However, we're seeing this in young children as well, not the Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, but we're seeing the demyelination process happening in children because they're actually not forming that information. So parents will say to me, for example, the teachers are saying that they're teaching them the one day, and the next day it's like it's new. They've never seen it before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not sticking.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay,
they're not retaining. They're not retaining. Yeah,
that's that.
Yeah.
And then when we look at the brain profiles, there is a particular profile called a left blocked profile, and that is a level of sensitivity in that individual where they actually become like a deer in the headlights when they're under stress. They're not listening. They're not able to talk. They can't say, I'm having a problem. They are so shut down that they really are disabled, literally. And they are, unfortunately or fortunately, those children are also perfectionists. So they start to panic. And the more they panic, the worse things get for them. The further off they get shut down, because we switch, our profile switches on under stress. So the more the child is panicked, the more actually they're switched off. So what happens in those cases is a typical example of this is the teacher is saying, you've got a project. And the child goes, okay, and they're busy writing down, they've got a project. And the next sentence, because they're busy processing the first sentence, they lose the next sentence. And then by the time they've tuned back in, they're now on sentence number 3. And they go, hang on a second, that doesn't make sense. So they turn to the person next to them and go, what did she say? And now he's in trouble for talking, right? So it can just spiral out of control super fast.
Goodness.
Okay. And then they come home and they say, Mom, I've got a project. Oh, what's it about? Well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Weren't you listening? No, I was listening. And the poor child was listening. Okay. But if there is toxicity in the brain, it slows that processing down and results in what they call APD, auditory processing disorder. And what annoys me enormously is that we've labeled these children. I mean, there is a chap who's actually written the book called The Alphabet Children, Dr. Michael, I've forgotten his surname. But the thing is that we've labeled them because the people who were diagnosing them didn't really understand what was happening. I really understand what's happening. I can see what's going on in that brain. I can see how that process is being retarded, slowed down. Okay. And we can help. That's the beautiful thing. Beautiful thing is that none of this is a problem. We don't need to label a child and stick him in a box. We don't need to do this. We can actually help, and there are solutions out there. And that, for me, is the most exciting thing.
Yeah, and you have, so many solutions at your fingertips, and you have added something to your toolkit recently with the Lifewave patches, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
And can you tell us a little bit about how that has benefited some of your clients, or especially the children that you've worked with?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the little boys that I work with is such a sweet little thing, and he wouldn't wear his patches until his kinesiologist had tested him. So sweet. Anyway, the kinesiologist was blown away because the patches worked so well for him. And we'd ordered exactly the right ones that he needed, which was beautiful, and he was happy to wear them. And his mum phoned within 2 or 3 days and said, wow, that is amazing. He is so much calmer. He is so much more, I can see he's computing. I can see he's understanding and listening to me. And then a couple of weeks later, she phoned me and said to me, I got really cross with him and I was shouting at him and I put him to bed, and normally he'd be grumpy with me and not speak to me. And then he turned to me and said, Mum, I'm just not tired. I know that this is difficult for you to understand, but I'm just not tired. And I'm still finding the time change difficult to adjust to. And she was taken aback because that was so logical. And he was able to communicate stuff that he had absolutely never been able to communicate before. And I was so thrilled for her because she was so happy. And
So
she couldn't say anything about that. She was like, okay, I get it. Because, of course, it's true. Yes.
Right.
But I mean, the point is that up until then, he wouldn't have been able to communicate. And so,
Right.
and obviously for different children, it's going to be different things.
Exactly.
But we're looking at detox. We're looking at getting those stem cells back up and running. We're looking at anti-inflammatory. We're trying to bring the inflammation down. And please believe me, I've been doing this with children for many years. This is not my first rodeo with this, but I've been using different things because putting in supplements, and I've been putting in, I've been making them do all sorts of things, and not pleasant. Some of them, some of them are suppositories. We're trying to get the metals out of the children, okay? And so some of these protocols have really not been easy. There are some protocols that you've got to wake the child during the night because it has to happen every 4 hours that the child has to have the medication. Some of the stuff's just crazy, right?
Right.
But it's all we've had at our disposal at that point.
Right.
Now, with the Lifewave patches, we've absolutely got it could not be easier, right? You put them on in the morning, goodbye, cheers, have a nice day.
Right.
End of story. Nobody sees them. Nobody knows what's going on.
Right.
It's just heaven. It's absolutely heaven. The child doesn't have to take 10, 15 supplements in the morning.
Right.
And so it's just made a huge
or
difference.
swallow any kind of liquid or whatever,
Really, one child was forcing his mother to pay him $2 every time he had to take the methylene blue because it was so awful for him. And so this was a much better option.
Yeah.
And so we've had lotions and potions for years. So it's not that we weren't doing the same job. It's just that now we've got an easier way to do this job.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So for those of you wondering, so we're just going to go over the patches just a little bit to kind of give you a taste of what she's talking about, what she's been working with, which is another tool in her toolkit. So, so we're going to go into about the patches. So I just wanted to quickly explain how the patches work. So as you most likely know, when we're out in the sun automatically helps us produce vitamin D in our body. So it sets off a process that we produce vitamin D in our body. Now, does the sun have vitamin D? No, it is stimulating. It is the light is going into our body, and it is stimulating your body to produce vitamin D. And it also helps us make more vitamin D throughout the day in order to keep your bones strong and healthy. So that's what is called like frequency, which is what the Lifewave patches are all about. And so the patches, but they're just like a size of a quarter or a 50-cent piece, like a Band-Aid. And Noeline probably has one. And when it's placed on the body, it reflects back your own infrared light back into your body, and it taps into the natural flow of energy. She's holding up one right now. And that process is called photobiomodulation, and it allows your body to reset and repair. And so specifically, each patch contains organic nanocrystals. So it's made up of amino acids, water, oxygen, sugars, and salt. And it forms a crystal lattice in a specific design, each patch, because there's about 11 patches in their product line. And each one is made up of a specific structure. And so that lattice structure. And so when your light, it comes out from your body, because your infrared light goes out about 5 inches from your body. And when it goes out, it's reflected off that back into your body. And it stimulates specifically for the X39, which is the flagship product. And it stimulates this copper peptide called GHKCU. And GHKCU activates your dormant stem cells. And when that happens, then it activates your dormant stem cells, and then the stem cells go on and play triage around your body to repair and regenerate whatever needs to be repaired. And it always goes to the most, important or urgent issue first. And so they're just really amazing. And I've been on them for almost a year, and it's been pretty miraculous for me. And so the benefits of of wearing these patches, and again, nothing goes into your body except your own light. So there's no drug or no substance or anything like that. It doesn't conflict with anything. But the benefits are amazing, including reduction in pain and inflammation, improved mental clarity and brain function, improved energy and vitality, better sleep, stress reduction, increased muscle mass and bone density, wound healing, improved endurance, age reversal, wrinkle reduction, hair growth, belly fat reduction, hormone support, and much, much more. But what we've seen with children is completely and totally amazing, because children seem to heal faster than adults, just like pets, and you can use them on your pets as well. And so not that many, we haven't heard that many children that are using them, but it's coming up more and more because it's safe to use for any mammal. The only people I think that shouldn't use it are people who have cancer on their chemo days. That's pretty much it. And then pregnant and nursing mothers, because they haven't done any trials on that. But children, they've been, a lot of mothers have decided to try them on their children with great success, especially children who have some sort of brain disorder or cognitive impairment or learning disability. And so I just wanted to go over two very briefly success stories. And we've got the video success story for you guys to watch. We'll put the link in the show notes. These are really short testimonial videos. They're about less than 10 minutes each. And the first one is this teenager named Jalen. She's 16 years old, and her mother did the testimonial. But before she was patching, she was born with a rare genetic disorder. And so she had developmental delays, cognitive impairment. She tested at a kindergarten level. She had severe ADHD. She was very combative and destructive. She had seizures every year, 6 to 8 every year. And she was unable to be unsupervised. So someone had to be with her almost 24/7 at 16 years old. So can you imagine how exhausted this mother is? And she was very difficult. And then she started using just the X39. That's all she used for Jalen. I think she had been on them about 9 months, something like that at this point. But she had noticed a difference right away. She is now testing at a third at 3rd to 4th grade level, whereas before it was kindergarten. She no longer needs any ADHD meds. She's not having any seizures. She's not combative. She's not having destructive outbursts. She's taking responsibility for her own grooming and chores and animals, which she never did before. She no longer needs 24/7 supervision, and she's doing normal teenager things, like, being embarrassed that her mother kisses her in public and stuff like that. And she's even taking piano and ballet lessons, which they thought that she would never be able to do. So it's astonishing. And this woman is working with other children, and she said all of the children, all the teenagers with ADHD like this, are greatly improving on just the X39. I mean, it's an astonishing testimonial. And then it's crazy, right? And then the next one is Eli. And Eli is 11 now. He was 10 when they started patching. And oh my God, his story is very tragic. But so he died shortly after birth and was brought back to life. And he had all kinds of brain dysfunctions. And he had a stroke and suffered a seizure. And he suffered from learning disabilities. And because his brain couldn't communicate with his body. And it's very similar to what Noeline was just talking about. So he had been stuck mentally at 4 years old. He could not get past that. And he would repeat kindergarten year after year because he could not retain information. And she said he could only use one-step instructions. So like, put the left leg of your pants on. Okay. And then he couldn't remember that he had to do the other leg. Like she had to continually tell him what to do. And it would take over 2 hours for him to get ready in the morning. Again, exhausting. And he was going to occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. And he needed help doing every single thing. And at age 10, he was still would go through 55 diapers in a week, and also wet the bed and all kinds of stuff. So he was, it was like 24/7 care. Again, exhausted mother. And so after the patches, he started improving within the first week drastically. And I believe this is after 6 or 9 months. He has no more seizures. He's completely med-free. He was on a lot of medications. He is holistic med-free. He doesn't have to go to occupational therapy or physical therapy or speech therapy. He can now dress himself. He remembers how to do it without help. He showers pretty much by himself. He is now reading books, and which he never could before. And he's gotten through 6 books in just a matter of months. And they've been trying to get him to read those 6 books since he was 4, I think. And now he is doing math problems and solving problems, which he never could before. And he talks on the testimonial, and he just kind of sounds like a normal kid. And he's almost diaper free. I think there's like once or twice a week, which was before it was 50. So that's like, to me, that's just, when I watched this, I mean, I was crying because I couldn't get over how drastically these patches helped. And he used the X39 and the Eon patch. X39 is the stem cell activation one, and Eon is for inflammation. And then she said, I think for the first few months, they used just those 2, and then they started adding the other ones in the following months after that. And that's when he drastically got better, when they added the other patches. But so that is, I mean, both of these are just so astonishing. How quickly they were helped and how drastically they were helped with just the patches. And I don't know if you want to say anything about this, Noeline. It's just kind of astonishing, don't you think?
Well, the thing I want to add to this is that we think that stem cells are only for people over the age of 30.
Right.
Because we hear that stem cell becomes inactive. About 50% of our stem cells are inactive at the age of 30. But actually, one of the most important things to realize is toxicity. I know I keep harping on about this.
Right.
Actually affects our stem cells.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can be damaged from early. And so reactivating them is just so important. When I found out about this, I was so excited. I was literally bouncing off the walls.
Yeah.
Because we've heard about stem cell therapy for yonks now. Okay, we
Right.
know that it exists, but it was still required people to take supplements.
Right.
And when I took them, I didn't find it did anything to me.
Right.
It cost me a lot of money, and it didn't do a thing. And so I've been waiting for something that was further into the technology that resonated with me.
Yes.
That's the other aspect about this that I absolutely love, because I am that kind of person anyway. And the fact that you're activating it in your own body, it's not a medicine going in, it also excites me immeasurably. But the fact that we can get this toxicity out, especially with the glutathione patch, that is actually activating your own glutathione. I mean, glutathione is just essential for detox.
Yeah.
But can I now just quickly interject here about detox, because I've learned something so important in the last 24 hours about detox. And that is, we can now use the Sarnum products to help with that detox process. So if we start with those first and then we move on to the patches, we don't have to have such a severe detox reaction.
Oh yeah, that's such a good point.
Are so toxic that detox reaction makes them run a million miles.
Yeah.
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 And understandably, because it's horrible. I mean, if I could have run a million miles, I would have. But because I'm going through that process myself. So honestly, I think that is important for us to know. Now we have the tools in our toolkit that we can buffer that experience. It doesn't have to be so ghastly. And yet we can get the toxins out safely and relatively quickly without having to do intravenous chelation, without having to take masses of supplements. I think that for me is, honestly, that's the thing that
well, that's got to be a game changer, because you're dealing with people with high levels of toxicity. Now I know I've had only 2 people that I've worked with who their detox reaction was so severe they had to stop the patches because they couldn't function, because it was really severe. And it usually doesn't happen like that. But if you're highly toxic, it's going to. Now you can drink more water and stuff, but you really want to help these people get through the detox process. Because if they can get through that process, then it's like on the other side is an amazing life. And I love that you've figured that out, because that's like such a great, another addition to your toolkit. Because to me, working with somebody like Noeline, especially if you're a parent of a special needs child, with learning disabilities and brain dysfunction, she has all these tools, right? All these services and products that she can build a customized solution for you, so you don't have to feel like this is going to be your life for the rest of your life, that you're going to have this child that you have to care for, and you see no end in sight, right? But you love your child and you'll do anything to help them. And so to me, the go-to person for children's brain health is this lady, this lady right here, right here. Yeah, because she's so experienced, and she has such to me, like this 20,000-foot view, and then also detailed view, and only looking at it from a holistic perspective, because that's, in my opinion, what we need to be doing, is only looking at stuff from that and not the pharmaceutical Western medicine perspective, because the only way we can truly heal is through that. And I love that the patches help you get back to your original blueprint, so that you won't have to take any kind of supplements or pharmaceuticals or whatever, eventually, right? So, I mean, this is just so cool. And I just, and I'm so excited to be connected to Noeline, because I think she's absolutely brilliant. And so we're going to talk about ways how to work with Noeline. So, and you can work with her from anywhere in the world. Even though she's located in New Zealand, it doesn't matter where you are, she can help you. And so if you want to connect with Noeline, you're going to go to her website, which is brainfocus.nz, or I said it like you guys do. And you can book a brain profile there if you want to, for yourself, for your child. And I think it's actually quite affordable, her brain profile. And you'll learn so much about your child and about yourself if you want to do it for yourself. And then if you're interested in learning more about the patches, you can go to our YouTube channel and learn more. But also, you can contact Noeline through her website if you're interested in learning more about if you want to order the patches. go ahead and contact her directly, and we'll have her information also there, her email and all that kind of stuff, because you can make an appointment with her and she can help you kind of decide, what would be the solution, in addition to all the other things that she has to offer.
There was just one last thing I just thought of just while I was listening to you, and that is, I mentioned mercury being one of the toxins, and I just want you to know that there are just a myriad of them. They're just everywhere.
Right.
They're in your
Right.
water, they're in the air, they're
Yeah.
in the food. They're everywhere. I mentioned mercury because it happens to be, one that I could talk about just in that moment. But
Mhm.
just don't imagine that if you don't have amalgam fillings and it's not there, well, you're not home and free.
Yeah, well, and there's lead, right? Leads and so many
No, well, I
things.
mean,
Yeah,
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 totally. I mean, the
yeah,
cadmium, nickel, lead,
yeah,
arsenic. I mean,
yeah,
it's just absolutely
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
So it's really an important thing to actually pay attention to. I
Mhm.
mean, and honest to goodness, I have to be honest with you and say that there isn't a day that isn't a learning curve for me. I only just really learned, although I've been told before that decaf coffee was toxic, I just didn't want to believe it. And I've now had firsthand experience of just how toxic it is.
Yeah.
And so I was so proud of myself that I'd weaned myself off coffee, but I snuck in the decaf instead, and I just learned a hell of a lesson that actually that's just as toxic. It's a learning curve every day.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for joining our health chat with our wellness expert, Noeline Levinson. And we'll have another one coming up soon. So thanks for joining us. Have a great day or evening wherever you are.